In the 90s, the talk shows, these people really worked hard to make being a metalhead a bad thing. You still see the results of that today. Hi, welcome back to Krautsalat. I am Eric, an American living in Germany. All right, so we will talk about metal again today. I already did a video on metal in Germany and the scene and whatnot. Let's link that and you can watch it if you have not seen it yet. Here, I put together a list of things from my experience in the US and the metal scene there in the US. I will count some things off for you, and I've got a really interesting topic that I'm going to save to the last, but I think a lot of these might surprise you. Like I'm not going to talk about the same things that were mentioned in the other video, the metalheads being quite the same. And in the meantime, before we do this, if you have not yet, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, find Krautsalat, because I am there. We've got pages spreading all the social media love. So join us on all of the platforms. All right? Now, let's get to this list about metal in the US. For number one, right off the top, I have to start with setting standards. Rock and roll, LA, Hollywood. This is something that really blew up in the 80s. The hair metal, love it or hate it, the hair metal in LA really set a standard. As the metal was growing, I think this rock and roll lifestyle really kind of blended in with that. Guys like Ozzy and Lemmy, they found their home in LA. This rock and roll lifestyle of LA and the Sunset Strip and bars like the Whiskey A Go-Go and the Rainbow Room. I don't know of other places around the world that quite have this rock and roll life, this rock and roll feeling. And a lot of metal really took that in. For example, I can go right on to number 2 in my list, partying. My early years in partying, we would watch some home videos. Like go back to like the Pantera home videos, the first home video from Korn. These guys were living like this party, drinking a lot. Here's the metal, but partying. They created an overlap between what was metal and the rock and roll lifestyle. For me, being young, that was the image that this created. So once it came to the point of me and my friends going to concerts, rock and roll feel, even though it was metal, that rock and roll feel was there with us. And our home parties were moved into the concerts. All of that energy. This was something different. I don't see that as much here in Germany. Maybe it's a generation thing, because I'm talking like 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you watch some of the Pantera home videos, or even the first home video from Korn. I think it's called I don't even know what it's called. I don't remember. I don't remember what this home video was called. I think I was partying too much. My early days with metal had that. Rock and roll party, drink a lot with your friends. Taking that party energy into the concerts, it was always about headbanging and moshing and really getting into it. For me, around the late 90s, this was when the nu metal thing came in, but bands like Machine Head and Soulfly, you go to their concert, and if you weren't jumping up and down or moshing around, then you probably shouldn't have been there. I can't say it any better than that. The concerts were a party, and it was all about having fun. And these were even before the days, I loved going to concerts, and I wasn't old enough to drink a beer. That was pure energy from the music and the whole feeling of the concert. I think a lot of this energy really helped create a fanatic type of a fan. I don't know if I've really seen this as much here, or maybe it's even dying out a little bit. The bands used to tour a lot. They would play very frequently. This is a big thing. I'm kind of overlapping my points here, like from 3 into 4. The bands in the US, I felt like they tour a lot more and they play a lot. 1998 through like 1999, Coal Chamber was a band that I saw play a lot. They played many times. Seven Dust. I know not so much metal. Yeah, their energy. They played so many concerts. Like Seven Dust, there was like a 2-year period where Seven Dust was just all over the place. Slipknot played so many concerts. Like they really had to play a lot to get to the level that, yeah, so you get my point. Like these bands were playing a lot. This energy really fired and fueled the fanatic type crowds. I don't know if that sort of attitude and energy still exists. I know big bands like Five Finger Death Punch have some really fanatic fans, but that's already at a bigger level. I'm talking fanatic fans when the band is playing to 500 people. Like half of the crowd is just really pumped and fired up to see these bands. I'm really happy that I was able to find my way into metal and experience that energy. In my opinion, that's what it is. Like metal needs to be energy, and it should not be left alone for the band to only provide that energy. It's nice when everyone, it's being in a good circle pit. Like I can't explain it. If you don't know what I mean, you need to get in and feel it yourself. Next big concert you go to, hop on top of the crowd and do some crowd surfing. Whether you're 20 or if you're 40, like you got to experience it. Oh, here's one that I think it's my number 5. This one will surprise you. Festivals. Now, you don't think of festivals in the US being anything important together. In my other video, I talked a lot about how festivals and Germany is like, that's the thing. Sadly, this year we're missing out on all of that, but that's a different topic. There have been some really big, really great festivals in the US. Most of these are indoor, like the traditional open air festival that a lot of you are familiar with did not really catch on, take off, even exist in the US. But I'm talking about things like the Milwaukee Metal Fest. I think this one, I'm sorry, I forgot to do the research, but I think the Milwaukee Metal Fest began before Wacken did. It obviously didn't last as long. It's none of my business, but I think it was poor organization. However, I got to go one year in 2001. It was an awesome event. There's a good comparison. Like everyone wants to go to Wacken. Everyone talks about that. If I had to make a comparison, the Milwaukee Metal Fest during its peak was like the place. If you're too young and you missed out on that, that's probably something that you would have liked to have experienced. Some other good ones are the Maryland Death Fest. This has really grown into being a staple of metal in the US. And New England Metal and Hardcore Festival. That's another good one. Some of the big corporate sponsored type festivals where bands like Slipknot or even Metallica might be headlining. Some of these are growing and popping up a little bit more. The US, I think, is undercredited or underappreciated for some of these concrete foundation type festivals like the Milwaukee Metal Fest, New England, Maryland. Not enough appreciation for those. And we can't forget the traveling festivals. This is something that I don't think happened to the extent like Ozfest. Because the US is so big, because of the difficulty of starting festivals, they made this traveling festival. I went to Ozfest. How many years did I go to Ozfest? 5 or 6. The Vans Warped Tour, that was more punk. The Summer Festival, that was something like Ozfest. Mayhem was another one. But this, for us in the US, that was our festival. Like, that's what we had. Yeah, so some credit needs to go there. Like, I've talked about the partying, the concerts, the energy. Going back again to the metal in Germany episode, I talked about it being more acceptable here, like the metalhead and that lifestyle being more acceptable here in Germany. In the US, it's really looked down upon, shamed almost. I got to put this in with like the conservative outlook, almost like a bit of an oppression. If you don't know about it, we can go back to like the 80s. This political group, the PMRC, they really worked hard to really bring it down. The satanic panic, this was really stupid. And I think because of a lot of this conservative, I'll say conservative oppression, these people really worked hard to make being a metalhead a bad thing. And you still see the results of that today. Like in the 90s, the talk shows like Donahue, they would bring guys like Marilyn Manson on, Peter Steele from Typo Negative. I think a lot of us really love and appreciate some of these old stupid TV show, like guys like Manson and Peter Steele, they really fed into that. So I'm glad that they did, but yeah, the way that the conservative America, I don't know, there's still a stigma. Whenever a kid lashes out in rebellion, it's the music. So America really likes blaming negative things on music, but those of us that listen to it know that that's not the case at all. It's all of the other crap going on. There's some of my thoughts, some of the highlights. Do you want me to talk about American bands? I don't know. Like, this was something that happened after the German metal video that I made. Everyone wanted me to talk about the bands. If you want me to talk about the bands, you can leave a comment. Maybe I make another video in the future. I don't know. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Like, who's watching from the US? What did I miss? I wanted to give you something that's not repeated from the Germany metal video. The American metal scene is different in many ways, and it's still good. Don't get me wrong, like, there's so many good things about the American metal scene, but it's really difficult to compare because there's ups and downs with no matter where you go. Okay, so this was my list of things about metal in the US. I think I counted 6. I ran all of my topics together. What did I miss? If you want me to add something, maybe make a second video, talk more about the bands, but let me know in the comments. I hope you're subscribing already. Stick with us. See you next time. Feierabend.